Hello, this is a short PowerPoint presentation in relation to making an informed choice about the NTU Social Work Degree Apprenticeship route. My name is Tony Marie Benetton and I am the course leader. This is a presentation that you really need to listen to and watch prior to any formal QA session. The formal QA sessions are on the 15th of May at 10 till 11, the 15th of June at 3 till 4 p.m, the 11th of June at 10 till 11 a.m, and the 10th of August 3 till 4 p.m. All you need to do is contact your training lead in the first instance and then contact myself, Tony Benetton, or Jenny Simpson, and we will send you a link out to those Q&A sessions. They are online Q&A sessions through Teams, and it's an opportunity for you to ask any question about the apprenticeship degree process. But this is again the reason why we ask you to listen to this presentation prior, so that you really have a good understanding of the process and the journey, as well as the opportunity to explore questions in more detail. The PowerPoint presentation I'm going to take you through right now will have this video situated just here, and your training leads are the people who will be giving you this PowerPoint presentation to have a look at. So first of all, just to make you aware that the reason that we provide information in terms of making an informed choice sits with Social Work England 2021 1.6, which is about ensuring that the admissions process gives you, the applicant, the information they require to make an informed choice. And this is about your planning and decision making, and to look at all of the different elements that the degree course for the apprenticeship route offers. The degree is a generic degree, which means when you complete the degree after 3 years, it means you can go into children's and family social work, you can go into adult social work, you could go into mental health, forensic social work. Some areas might require additional training that you would do in-house, but ultimately it's a generic degree. There is a link here, and there's links on lots of the pages. They're normally underlined and in blue, and that will take you to the education and straight training standards for Social Work England. So please go and have a look at those. We are an approved social work degree route, and we was approved by Social Work England for reapproval in 2022. Our validation came through in 2023. So again, we work to Social Work England standards, and there are 6 of these standards, and please take the opportunity to go and have a look at these, because they sit within our interview process, but they also sit within the process for making sure that you know what Social Work England is. So just an overview of the admissions and interview process. You as the applicant will be given information by your employer. Normally this is an advert that goes out to all employees, informing them that they are looking for internal applications for the degree apprenticeship route. There will be some internal screening. This might comprise of writing a personal statement. It may comprise of doing some group exercises and written exercises. It may involve doing some face-to-face interviewing where you're exploring why you want to go through this process. Why do you want to do the degree at this point in your career? If you're successful, you'll be directed by your employer to the NTU portal, and you'll complete our admissions process online. So you'll be asked to complete a personal statement. So again, if you've done this for your employer, you can just use their feedback and make this a little bit better for our internal process. And you'll also be asked to upload and complete an initial needs assessment, an INA. And again, all your employers have blank versions of these, and this is just simply a tick box on you don't have any information, or you have lots of information and knowledge with regards to the learning outcomes and all of the modules that we run over our 3 years. The application is received by NTU. It is checked by our central admissions team to make sure that your qualifications are on there, that all the information is correct. We have to check your personal statement to make sure it's fit, it's robust. So make sure that it's accurate, it's got good grammar, sentence structure, you've proofread it, making sure that you've used all the information that we've given your employers to think about making an informed choice, and also preparing for interviews, including personal statements. So if this is all successful, you'll be invited to take a written online test, and this is essentially a piece of work that you will be asked to do. And the admin team, we add your details to a spreadsheet, and we email you the date and time of the written test and the process in terms of the instructions. And that is normally an article that you read from Community Care, and you are asked to answer some questions on that article, being mindful that you should be showing your ability to write coherently, to write fluently, to provide information in a logical sequential manner that links to social work. If you're successful at that stage, you'll progress. But if you're not, that's where the process ends for you. Now, for anybody who has any reasonable adjustments, when you get that first email from our admissions team regarding the written test, you'll be prompted to contact them if you have any access statements or reasonable adjustments. And again, you can go back to your training team to talk about that. But reasonable adjustments are normally where you have a diagnosis, or you already have some sort of reasonable adjustment in place. It can't be just because you don't think you're very good at writing and you feel that you need a bit of time. It has to be a formal process. So as I said, it's marked by an academic. If you fail, we update you, and that is the end of the process, unfortunately. But if you pass the written test, you're referred for the face-to-face interview, which is point 3 here. Now, your agency, your employer, has already been provided with the dates for your particular organisation, and so you will be given a date and a time for you to attend. And that formal process is then a group discussion, and a task is completed as part of that group discussion, so talking to each other in relation to a particular question, and you are observed by a panel, and then the interview is completed. And again, that's overseen by a panel of people with lived experience from the organisation C, as well as an academic and somebody from your employer, your agency. Just to give you a bit more information, the group and face-to-face interview have to be passed in order for a place to be offered. But at the end of the day, all of the scores are calculated and provided to your employer, and it is then your employer who offers you the place. If you have passed and your employer is saying that they want to put you forward, then we will accept you onto our course, and you'll be asked then to complete a skill scan which looks at your current skills. This is very different to your INA. You'll also be asked for suitability. So again, suitability papers will be sent out to you in terms of if you've got any convictions or any other issues that we need to be made aware of. And at that point, an academic offer can be made once they come back clear. We then sign off your INA and contracts are issued. So that's the process of admissions in a ballpark figure, and again, the Q&A allows you to ask more questions of that. So preparing for the interview, you just need to be mindful that it is marked. It is an academic process. It's marked by an academic. So you receive an email with instructions to follow. It'll be an article from Community Care. So I would suggest that you start reading Community Care articles. Start now by reading research, reading around social work, starting to think about what's the political arena and how is that impacting on social work, accessing the British Association of Social Work website and podcasts that enable you to be informed by social work. So thinking about what are Social Work England standards, what are the BASWA professional capabilities framework. As I said, it's marked by an academic. If you pass, you progress to the next stage, and if you fail, your application ends. And on the day, if you are invited to do the on the day of the online written test, there will be a briefing. So written test, as I said, you'll get a date and time provided, and there will be time to prep. So it's not normally you'll get an invite and information about the article quite a few days in advance, so you'll have time to prep. And that written test is, as I said, it's at a particular date and time, and you will go into an online platform, most likely through Teams, and there'll be an academic or a member of staff observing you. So you can use, books and various information around you, but you have to stay within that room and, within the time allocated. If you are successful there, you'll go through to your group discussion and your face-to-face interview, which is on campus at NTU. Preparing for your interview, group and interview. So the applicant will be invited to NTU interview process via our admin team, and on the day you'll have a briefing, and you'll also be given a main guide, and the link to the main guide just sits here. And again, it'll also give you the vital tools that you need to be successful at your interview. If you're successful from interview, this is a little bit of a copy of the skills scan that I've already discussed, and suitability in terms of the DBS. So as you can see, it asks you various things linked to knowledge, skills and behaviours which sit within the degree standards. So just to give you an idea of the course timetable runs from January through to December. The module takes place on Wednesdays, and that's all day. Teaching tends to start at 10 till 4, but could be subject to change. You do placements in year 2 and 3, and over the 3 years you have to do 200 skills days. So you tend to do 30 days over the 3 years, which are linked into your modules. So when you're on campus in teaching, and then you'll do 2 placements, one which is an 80-day placement and one which is a 90-day placement. That adds up to 170. The 30 then give you the 200 combined. We give you a timetable, and that's also sent to your training leads and employers, and you can share that with your mentors and managers where viable. And again, there's a link here which will take you to the course page for the degree. You'll be taught a whole range of modules, and I'll look at those in a minute. So everything from law through to theories, interventions, assessments, everything that you can possibly think of in terms of social work. You have allocated to you 6 hours per week, so whether you're on campus teaching or not, you're doing assignment time, you're prepping, you're reading, you'll get that 6 hours per week, which normally equates to 1 hour, 1 day. And if you're part-time, that's a bit of a pro rata, so it changes slightly, but that's something that we would talk to your employer about. The apprenticeship route looks at something called knowledge, skills, behaviours and professional frameworks, and you have to work through these as well as all of the modules over the duration of your course. I've already talked to you about placements, and at the end in year 3 you have to do something called a gateway and an endpoint assessment. The endpoint assessment is our final module. At the moment that consists of 4 pieces of work, and I'll talk about this later in this slideshow. The gateway is just a declaration where your employer is saying, yes, this person is ready to progress to their endpoint assessment. As I said, you'll come in 1 day a week. At the moment it's 2 days for induction, but this might be 3 days, and the new teaching timetable will provide this detail. Teaching is primarily on campus, and it's validated by Social Work England. So if you're not here, you'll be expected to be emailing your manager and your mentor, because that would be classed as a sick day if you're not able to come into university. Some blended teaching, sometimes we do pre-recorded lectures, but primarily it's on campus. The modules, as I said, cover a whole range of things. You have to do all of these modules, and they have to be progressed year on year. So you need to pass all the modules in year 1 to move into year 2 and so on. But we cover everything from theories and methods, looking at attachment theory, how does, social learning theory impact on practice, how might you use that, crisis intervention, solution focused work. We might look at models such as medical versus social model and so on. We'll look at professional practice, so how do you communicate, what do you understand about professional values, law and policy covering both children's and adults, as well as mental health. Then we have other areas such as links to human growth and the lifespan of the individual. We explore diversity as well as safeguarding and intervention. And then, as I said, you have your 2 assessed workplace learning and your final module in year 3, developing professional practice, which is a consolidation of all that you have learned, getting ready for your final assessment. Now, apprenticeships come with something called off-the-job hours, and essentially off-the-job hours is your university time. So there's a useful diagram here. So you could see that it might be pre-reading, tutorials, university visits, so coming into campus once a week, independent study. It might be a development of your e-portfolio, which is a Pebble Pad, and that's where you're logging all your information. It might be your taught blocks of work. And again, we will support you to access all of these areas when you come onto the degree, but you just need to be mindful that you are, you're having that 1 day a week to come to university to do all your modules and, to do all the planning and preparation that is needed for you to successfully hand in all of your assessments. And so, the modules aren't every day, every single week of the year. There are periods where there will be a number of weeks where you are doing the preparation and the planning, but you're actually not on campus. So you're on campus when you're in a taught module, but then there are gaps in between where you are, further enhancing your knowledge base. I've already identified knowledge, skills, behaviours, and I've put the links here in relation to what they are. But over the duration of the course, you'll link into professional frameworks, you'll link into BASWA, the professional capabilities on placement. You're always working to Social Work England professional standards. You have to evidence your KSBs over the duration of your 3 years. And so, for example, if you go on a new experience, it's always linked to new knowledge, new skills or new behaviours. You might upload a confidential email or report. You might add some reflective comments and you'll upload that as evidence. And then, of course, we have the knowledge skills statements for children and families and adults. Placement opportunities are varied. Some organisations, you may be in a substantive children's role and you'll go and do 2 placements but within children's. Some placements cover both children and adults. You may be in an adult substantive post and have 2 different placements in adult services. You may be in the same team but have different roles. You may go to completely different roles. So, for example, you may have a substantive post as a contact worker in children's, and you may go and do 1 placement in children and families. For example, the assessment team, the MASH team, reception services, child protection team. You might do another placement in leaving care or looked after children's team. So you're going to get that variety of different placement opportunities. And we work with your employers. We support you to complete a learning application form so that your employers know exactly what your skills are and your training leads can identify the best placement to enhance your skill set. You're taught through a range of different learning environments. So we have face-to-face, e-portfolios, which are online platforms. You'll have work-based projects, independent studies, tutorial time and seminars. And, you'll go through different modules with all different elements of work being incorporated. And that also follows through for your assessment. So we don't just have essays for everything. You might have reports or an examination. It might be an academic poster or some reflective logs. So we really are quite varied in trying to offer you a diverse way of learning, because we know that one size does not fit all. And so you'll see that as you go through the modules in terms of how your assessments are provided. So here is a brief overview of your assessments, and it is busy. This is a really detailed course, but it's the same amount of credits as anybody going through a BA and MA, and that's because, as I've said, you are a generic qualified social worker once you have completed this course. It means that you can go anywhere in the country to practice. You have a protected title as social worker, and you can go into children, adults, or mental health, whichever your preference is. But this is just what year one looks like in terms of the modules and the assessment that is needed. So you can see just in 2022 what students were expected to do for their assessments. So you can see for social work theories and methods they had a portfolio, so it was one solid piece of work. For law and social policy they had an exam and a report. So some modules have 2 pieces of work, others might just have 1. And you've got to think about, where do you fit this in with your working hours, your work-life family. You've got to be really organised, really have that ability to be motivated and keep on task all the way through. Just to let you know that the gateway and endpoint assessment is something that you complete at the very end. If anybody comes onto the course without English and maths, you have the opportunity to do that in year 1, and that's monitored and you're supported, but you don't get any additional hours to do that. So that is very much about doing that in your own time. So again, if you haven't got English and maths and you're really thinking about this course, think about, do I want to get this before I access this course? Otherwise, I may well need to be doing this during all of my university study and work commitments. But the gateway is the door between everything that you've learnt on the module and getting you signed off to go to the last module, the endpoint assessment, where if you complete all areas, you've completed the course. So at the moment, the endpoint assessment consists of 2 strands with 4 pieces of work. You have a written critical case study. You have an executive presentation, so a PowerPoint presentation about the key issues of that case. You then do an unseen exam, and you're given 2 additional pieces of information about that scenario exam for you to answer. And then you come in and you do a live assessment discussion where you're given 6 questions. So it's quite comprehensive in terms of your ability to evidence your level of knowledge from the 3 years and how you put that into practice. Now, we do offer lots of support, and we have academic support. So you have an academic tutor, a personal tutor who's a member of university staff, and they can support you in terms of signposting for any student services support, emotional support. They can signpost you for academic support, so library skills or assessments. But they can also provide support in terms of you getting to grips with academic planning and preparation. You also have an employer mentor who is appointed by your employer, and they offer you 2 hours a month support, and they also have their own training that we provide them, NTU, and we also give you a good session of understanding what is the role of the mentor. But the mentor essentially is the champion. They're champion your work, what you're doing in the workplace, and supporting you to think about what is new, what new knowledge are you learning, what new skills are you developing, what new behaviours are you taking on, and then upload that evidence for your knowledge, skills, behaviours. So they have a really good level of ability to help you manage and plan your workload, your university workload, and also to think about the new experiences that you're being presented with. You'll have a number of meetings over the duration of your degree, and these are called progress reviews. They occur every 12 weeks, but normally around about every 11 weeks, so between 4 to 6 over the year. And these are in addition to placement meetings, so you'll have a review, let's say for example every 12 weeks to see how you're getting on. This will monitor how you're getting on in university, how you're getting on in work, how you're managing everything, how you are developing your university studies into your workplace, how you're applying that work. And then when you're on placement, you'll also have a practice educator, and you'll have study time to support you to complete the academic work whilst on placement. So our teaching staff come from a lot of different disciplines. We have a high level of professors and doctors within the team, as well as senior practitioners, but we're all working on a whole range of different areas. So children in care, marginalised children, children with disabilities. We look at social work education, vicarious trauma, the impact of COVID, gender equality, prison-based rehabilitation initiatives, a whole range of different things. So we really do lead from an evidence-based perspective. So how can you support yourself to make sure that you have the best opportunity for both your internal screening and when you come for your formal interviews? This is not something that you can just do on a wing and a prayer. You need to start preparing now. You need to access regular podcasts, and I've put a little link up here for you, a little screenshot of all the kind of podcasts that are available. You need to be talking to colleagues in your work environment and thinking about what are the professional capabilities. You need to be looking at scholarly articles for social work. How do you understand research within the area that you work in? What do you understand about the political arena? So how, for example, is austerity impacting on poverty, and how is that impacting on the work that you do? You need to be getting onto links such as Community Care Inform, which gives you regular updates, and actually this is where your article is going to come from. So the more you get used to that site and the type of articles that are on there, the more you're going to be able to write under pressure. Lots of subscriptions are free, and your local authority is likely to have subscriptions for you. So most local authorities have free access to things like journals, research and practice, and so on. Start writing up 500-word reflective discussions based on an article. Talk to your group about, complex topics. Understand the difference between anti-oppressive practice and anti-discriminatory practice, and give examples of that, so you're really feeling confident in all of the terminology that goes with social work, so you're giving yourself the best possible opportunity for your interview. There are some links just for university services, so a snapshot in terms of the library, student news and the homepage for you to have a look at on your own, and take a virtual tour. But you can also come and visit campus. We have lots of open days. You just need to look onto the website and have a look at when they are. So other than that, thank you very much. I hope that's been informative. Please come to the Q&A sessions with your questions, and hopefully we can get those answered for you. Thank you very much.